for both. We read his because his were more extensive and Srila Bharati Maharaj's were quite brief.
Sometimes Gurudev has nice lectures on.
Must have been full moon. Was it full moon?
What?
It must have been full moon. Is that when y'all tidy up? Was it?
Oh, the shaving. I wonder, it must have. What is it?
It must
Yes,
have
it
been
is
full
full moon, and I didn't do it on the full moon. I don't know. It just didn't happen. And then it didn't happen the next day, and I realized, no, I have to shave up because I might be doing a Zoom thing with India.
Yeah.
They've invited me in Delhi to do that.
Oh.
moon.
So
You're gonna be zooming all over the place. Russia, India.
yeah. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm just going to do a real abbreviated Mangala Charana because not much time. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Itadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Mama Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhi Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Chishe Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhakta Vataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of my Siksha and Diksha Gurus Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to all my Shri Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga and my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So we read about how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would not become happy. He would become unhappy if he was hearing anything that contained ras abhas, or which was against the principles of bhakti. And it's a fact that when someone is advancing in the pathway of Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, they become very sensitive to this. Those who are neophytes in lower levels of Kanishta, they can go here and there and listen to this person and to that person, or this New Age thing and that New Age thing, and they can even become deviated from the path of pure bhakti by that kind of association. This is the symptom of a Kanishta. Did you know that? That in the definition of a Kanishta Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari is not bad. It's good because you're a Vaishnava. You're still a Vaishnava, even though you're in Kanishta level. I gave a whole explanation about a mango, as Srila Prabhupada told. The only difference between a green mango and a ripe mango is time. You see. So similarly, Kanishta Vaishnava is also a Vaishnava. But they have one fault, or weakness, or inadequacy. What is that? That nat cha bhakteshu chanyeshu. Nat cha bhakteshu chanyeshu. The Kanishta Adhikari, he can interact on his level of realization with the Supreme Lord in the form of the deity worship. He has Shraddha, actually, in deity, but he also has Shraddha in Guru. So he can recognize, this is my Guru. I have to honor my Guru. I have to follow my Guru. He can also recognize, this is the Supreme Lord. Even in other religions, they have reverence when they come into their church or their temple or their mosque or like that, you see. So, but the definition of the Kanishta is that although they have Shraddha in that, in Guru and in the form of the Lord in the temple, they can worship the Supreme Lord, but natad bhakteshu, they are not capable of properly identifying who is a bhakta and what level the bhakta is on. And because of this fault and flaw, that they have not yet developed that vision and that shraddha, well, of course, they can commit many offenses, or they can simply neglect sadhu sangha and not consider it to be very important. And the other part of that is natad bhakteshu and chanyeshu. Now this word, anyeshu, means others, meaning other human beings. They can mingle and mix in without knowing that they're becoming influenced, they're becoming contaminated, they're becoming misled, misguided, and so forth. This is the problem with Kanishta. But when someone comes into the Madhyam level, then their vision has developed. Do you know that verse about the definition of the Madhyam Adhikari, where he can recognize 4 different categories?
I remember the 4 categories.
Yes, Ishware tad adineshu, balesheshu dvisatsucha. These are the 4 categories. Ishwara means Supreme Lord. Now the Madhyam Adhikari will interact in 4 different ways with these 4 different categories. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiyo Ki Jai. Jai Radhe Jai Jagannath Jai Raj Jai Govinda Jai Nishringa Bhagavan. So pay close attention to this point about what is a Madhyam. This is how a Madhyam is defined. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the definition of the Kanishta, definition of Madhyam, and definition of Uttam. And this is a very important section of Vaishnava philosophy. Because if you look in the Upadeshamrita, right, the Upadeshamrita has 11 verses. So, let's examine the content, the subject matter of those 11 verses. First verse, Vachovegam Manasa Krodha Vegam. The 6 urges. One must learn how to tolerate the 6 urges. Second verse, which we've been studying from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the 6 activities which will harm bhakti. What are those 6 activities that harm bhakti? You know the second verse? Yes. Hatyahara prayashascha rajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyamcha. Janasanga means to associate with the wrong, ordinary materialistic people and so forth. Okay? That will cause bhakti to diminish. And then, as we've been reading, the next verse, Utsaha Nishchaya Daryat, the 6 favorable activities for bhakti. Now we're at the very end, getting near the end of this essay of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Also in there, it says, Utsaha Nishchaya Daryat, Tat Karma Vartanat Sangatyagat. Sangatyagat means to give up Sangha, of who? So many different categories. If one does not, then one can become deviated and influenced, okay? Sangatyagat Sato Vritti. We're studying Sadhu Vritti. No. Then what's the next verse? I'm actually describing these because in reference to the importance of association with Vaishnavas. The next verse is the 6 exchanges, loving exchanges that are shared between Vaishnavas. Dadati pratigrinnati guhyam akyati prichati bhunkte bojayate chaiva shadvidham priti lakshanam. Priti lakshanam means these are the symptoms of priti, of affection and love. And when they are shared with Vaishnavas. So Rupa Goswami has pointed out how important that is. Right? Then the next verse, wait a second.
Is that the Ganga one?
No. Identifying the 3, Krishneti Yasya Giritam Manasadriyeta Dikshasti Chet Pranati Vischa Bhajantam Isham Shushushaya Bhajanavigya Mananya Manya Nindadi Shunya Hriday Ipsita Sangalabdhya.
That's 5.
Nectar of instruction,
Is that number
okay.
5?
Verse 5.
That was 5.
Verse 5. Okay. So verse 5 is talking about the 3 categories of Vaishnavas. The Kanishta, the Madhyam, and the Uttam. So Krishneti Yasya Giritam Manasadriyeta. Here, Rupa Goswami is describing how one honors these 3 different levels of Vaishnavas. You honor a Kanishta who is chanting the name of Krishna in your mind. Manasa Adriyeta. That means to honor in your mind.
Manasa is mind?
Yes, Manasa. In the mind. It's in the mind. Mana means mind. And Manasa means in the mind. Then the second category for Madhyam, they're categorized as Dikshasti Chet Pranati Bish Chabhajantam Isham. Okay, Pranati Bish means to offer obeisances to. To who? One who is Dikshasti. That means that he has taken Diksha and he's in Madhyam level And bhajantam isham, he's constantly engaged in the bhajan of isha. Bhajantam isham means the worship, the process of devotional service, bhakti yoga. He's constantly engaged to the Supreme Lord, Krishna. And then comes the Uttama Adhikari. Shushushaya bhajana vigyam, ananya manya, nindadi shunya hridam, ipsita sangalabdya. Here, this personality is being described as bhajana vigyam. Bhajana vigyam means bhajan vigya. Means he's very, very deeply acquainted with the most advanced forms of bhajan to the Lord. And 24 hours he's engaged internally and externally. Ananya, without any deviation. And he is ananya, he is anya nindadi shunya. That means that he has no kind of envy in his heart. He does not want to criticize anyone. He's devoid of lust, anger, greed, illusion, all of these qualities. Hridam, nothing is there in his heart like this. Devoid of it. Shunya hridam. Nothing, not a trace in his heart. So ipsita sangalabdya. Yes, that the devotee is very desirous of having the association of a Mahabhagavat, pure Vaishnava. So in this way, three different reciprocations with devotees. So the verse before that, 6 different ways of interacting affectionately. Here, the 3 categories of devotees, how to honor them. Then we come to, this strange program. Okay. It's just how this operates. This the Veda base.
Oh yeah, that's.
Because I have a very old.
I have that one too.
The original iPad I have. It's like 10 years old or something.
Oh.
And then I have this one which is like 5 years old. But the way that it loaded onto each one, it operates differently. So anyway, okay, so verse 6. Now verse 6 is talking about who? Who is verse 6 talking about? A pure devotee. Verse 6 is talking about an absolutely transcendental, pure Mahabhagavat Vaishnava. And here Rupa Goswami is teaching that one should not mistakenly identify that great pure devotee according to any material estimation of his body or the family he's born in or this or that, right? Drishtai svabhava janatar vapushascha doshayar na prakritatvam iha bhakta janasya pashyat gangam vasam na kalus budbudafena pankayar brahma dravatvam apagachati nira dharmai. So this is a very wonderful verse explaining that a pure devotee who is situated in his original Krishna conscious position, he does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee's having a body born in a low family, or a body with a bad complexion, or a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. And according to the ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, according to ordinary vision, right? But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. So the Ganges waters do not become polluted. Although during the rainy season it's full of mud, bubbles, foam, it never becomes polluted, it's pure. So those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganga without considering the conditions of the water. See? So, this is the 6th verse of Upadeshamrita. These, you can see how important, amongst 11 verses, 3 entire verses are devoted to trying to make it very, very clear how to associate with devotees and how to associate with the topmost devotees and not commit offenses. See? And then the next 2 verses, verse 7 and 8, are talking about intensive endeavor to chant Harinam. Intensive endeavor to chant Harinam. Let's look at that. Okay, so that verse 7. Verse 7 is saying, Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapi Avidya Pitto Pataptas Rasanasya Narochikanu Kindvadarad Anudinam Kalusare Saiva Jushta Svadvi Kramad Bhavati Tad Kadamula Hantri. So here, Rupa Goswami is explaining. When I say Rupa Goswami is explaining, you have to understand that it's actually Mahaprabhu who's explaining, because Rupa Goswami heard this directly from the lotus mouth of Mahaprabhu, the whole Upadeshamrita, and then he composed the Sanskrit verses. You see? So, here in verse 7, and this is the 2 verses about chanting Harinam and how to chant, what kind of chanting. So this first verse, 7, and then verse 8. So verse 7 is saying that the holy name, the character, the pastimes, and the activities of Krishna are all transcendentally sweet, like sugar candy. And although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, which means ignorance, although that tongue that is afflicted by jaundice cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, carefully, anudinad means every day, then a natural relish awakens within his tongue. And his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Mula, gada mula hantri. Okay? Destroyed at the root. So the point is, I mean, those of us who've lived in India, we know, you don't see it too often in the West, but in India, devotees used to get attacked with jaundice. I think it's also a form of hepatitis or something like that. But then what happens? I actually got it one time, but it didn't stay very long. But what happens is that your eyes turn yellowish, your skin a little bit turns yellowish, and your taste, your sense of taste, becomes completely distorted, and something that's sweet, it tastes bitter. Yeah, that's the symptom of jaundice. But the actual cure, and everybody in India knows this, and I've spoken with devotees who have very heavy jaundice. Remember Radhakund Prabhu? He got very heavy jaundice when he was in India, and he said, sure enough, they have a thing called rock candy that you can buy in India. It's clear. It's a refined kind of sugar candy. And it's kind of clear, but it's hard.
On strings.
Well, it comes in different shapes, different sizes,
Yeah.
but the point is that you have to take that and soak it in water. Then it melts into the water and it becomes very syrupy, kind of very, very sweet, intensively sweet. That is the medicine that uproots jaundice. It's sweet, but it tastes bitter when you have jaundice and you start to taste it and swallow it and everything. It tastes bitter, bitter, bitter. But then day by day, as the jaundice goes away, you taste the sweetness more and more and more. So that's the actual example that's being used by Rupa Goswami, that the holy name of Krishna sometimes tastes bitter to one whose tongue is afflicted with the disease of jaundice, but actually the actual disease is not jaundice. Jaundice is the analogy. The disease is called avidya. Avidya, ignorance. So although Krishna's name, form, qualities, everything about Krishna is sweet by nature, but to one whose tongue is afflicted by avidya, it tastes sometimes not sweet, you see. But what's the cure for that? The cure is to constantly chant the holy name of Krishna anudinam. That means every day, 24 hours daily, Prabhupada is saying here, adarat. Adarat, which means with adar. Adar means great respect, great, care as you're chanting to avoid this 10 offenses and so forth, right? Kalusaiva jushta. Yes. So then svadvi kramat. Gradually, it becomes relishable. More and more.
I was just thinking this before you started talking about this to myself. I said, you have to be disciplined and chant every morning without fail.
Yes, so somebody who is becoming purified will be capable of doing that. But if someone is in a very contaminated state, it will be difficult for them to do that. And that's the problem that the very lower level neophyte devotees have. Is to become regulated and to become very determined to execute all the principles of bhakti. That's what we're reading about, okay? And the 8th verse, just for your information, is the ultimate verse. Gurudev would always talk about the 8th sloka, and we're going to look at that right now. So, tannama rupa charitadi sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyojya tishtan raje tadanuragi jananugami kalam nayed akilam iti upadesha saram. Now, here at the end of the verse you see the words iti upadesha saram. You see the words? At the end, iti upadesha saram. Are you looking at it there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the word upadesh, of course, means instructions or advice, right? And saram means essence. So Gurudev has always highlighted this shloka as being the essence of all instructions that you will find all throughout the Vedas, all throughout Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, everything. It's boiled down to this one instruction of this verse. What should you do? So, tan nama rupa charitadi sukirtananu. Here it's telling that one should engage in constantly discussing and nicely chanting about the name, form, quality, and pastimes, and so on, of Sri Krishna. Sukirtan, that means very nicely, very in a special mood and special way. Then, anusmrityo, one should also remember, chanting, doing kirtan, and remembering also in the mind. Name, form, qualities, pastimes. Then it says, Kramena rasana manasi niyojya. Kramena means gradually. The rasana, the tongue, and manasi, the mind, will become fully absorbed. Niyojya, fully absorbed in this. And tishtan braje tad anuragi jana anugami. That means one should do this being situated and residing in Braja. Tishtan braje. Why did the 6 Goswamis all go to Vrindavan? Why were they all instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Vrindavan, and all of the associates of Mahaprabhu would also go to Vrindavan at least in their life, a number of times? Because Tishtan Braje, to live in the Dham and to do this level of kirtan completely absorbed. This is the ultimate place where the Vaishnavas should be. Those Vaishnavas are not going to be thinking about, oh, I don't have this thing because I'm in India, I'm not in the West, or any of these austerities, or the weather, or the this or the that. They're absolutely not concerned about that because they're transcendentally relishing this deep process of bhajan. So therefore Rupa Goswami is saying, Tishtan Braje, should be residing in Braja. And who should you be getting your direction from? And who should you be absorbed in? Here, Tad Anuragi, Jana Anugami. There are 2 types of persons, Anuragi Jan and Anugami Jan. Now, I just spoke this afternoon about Anuga, Rupanuga, and Raganuga, and I've been mentioning this. Anuga means to follow. Here, one type of person is called Anugami Jan. So who are the Anugami Jans? Who are they? Who are the Anugas?
The Vaishnavas.
Yeah, the Vaishnavas who are living in Braj, who are like the 6 Goswamis, like our Guru Varga. Braj also means Navadvip, because they're identical abodes. So, one should be under their guidance. And also, Anuragi Jan. Anuragi Jan are the eternal associates of Krishna who performed pastimes with Krishna right there in Braja. That's why we go on Braj Mandala Parikrama and touch the dust of those holy places. All the pastimes, everything is there. It doesn't matter how it looks to your external vision, right? But all the desire trees, the Yamuna River, all these, so everything, the pastime, they're going on. It's Vraj. Vraj is eternal. But only the covering of Maya is there. So, he's describing, Rupa Goswami is describing how one has to execute this deep, deep, absorbed process of Harinam Bhajan. And not just Harinam, but the name form, Rupa, pastimes, qualities of Krishna, everything. 24 hours. Now it says Kalam Nayed Akilam. Here, Kalam means time. Nayed means should utilize. And Akilam means full, completely. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Kalam Nayed Akilam. He is saying all of your time should be utilized in this way, you see. And this, iti upadesha saram, this, what is stated here in this verse, this is the essence of all instructions. But how are you going to be able to do that? Only if you follow Upadesha Amrita from verse 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you can come to verse 8. It's a very, very serious process. This is the path of perfection, the ultimate perfection. And realizing Braj Bhakti and everything, you see. Now, the last 3 verses, what are they about? Once you've done this 8th verse, right? Once you've been able to perform bhajan in this way, then what is going to be attained? Oh, these last 3 verses are highlighting who? Srimati Radharani, the gopis, and where? Radha Kunda. Each of the 3 verses is mentioning Radha Kunda. Let's read those 3 verses. Okay, so verse 9. Verse 9 is telling which places, which locations are the topmost. So now Rupa Goswami is giving a comparative analysis of which locations are considered topmost. Here he says, Vaikuntaj Janito Vara Madhupuri Tatrapi Rasotsavad Vrindaranya Mudarapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhana Radha Kundam Ihapi Gokulapate Premamrita Plavanat Kuryad Asya Virajato Giritate Sevam Viveki Naka. So now he's analyzing and he's telling the holy place that is known as Mathura. Where is Mathura? Can you take a train from Delhi and go to Mathura? Yes. Can you take a plane from America and fly to Delhi and then take a train to Mathura?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Physically, you can do that. What is Mathura? Mathura is the transcendental spiritual world. The whole area is called Mathura Mandala. It's also called Braj Mandala. So, the holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to what? Vaikunta. What is Vaikunta? Heavenly planets?
I mean, sorry,
No. Vaikunta is beyond the material creation, and in Vaikunta there are unlimited numbers of spiritual planets where who is residing on those planets? Huh?
Not the Braj ones.
No. Vaikunta is the realm of Lord Narayan and Lakshmi. You see? Lakshmi and Narayan are there, and this is the realm of Aishwarya. But here it's saying that the place known as Mathura Mandala is spiritually superior to Vaikunta.
This again highlights why Krishna is supreme versus Narayan.
Well, yeah, okay, but you have to follow this line of thought here. Which one is superior, like this? So then he says, so this holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikunta, the transcendental world. Why? Because the Lord appeared there. Which Lord? Krishna. In Mathura, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, he appeared in the prison house of Kamsa. Yes? It is not said that he's born there. It said he appeared there. I won't get into all the details of that tattva.
We can do that on Janmashtami.
Yeah. So, but now, superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan. Why? Because of Krishna's Ras Leela pastimes. That's why. Ras Leela is the ultimate pastimes of Krishna. It is called his Mahalila. Within that Mahalila of Ras Lila are all other Leelas are contained within that. Huh? Everything. The whole essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Ras Panchadhyay, the 5 chapters of Ras Lila. So because Ras Lila took place in Vrindavan, therefore Vrindavan is superior to Mathura. Now, superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, because it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna, and it was the site of his various loving pastimes. Which loving pastimes? All. The whole Govardhan. The most intimate pastimes of Radha, Krishna, Gopis, everything taking place in Govardhan. Govardhan is topmost place. But then he goes on and he says, above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kunda stands supreme. Why? Because it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarine praying of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Now he asks the question, where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kunda, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? This is the first of 3 verses, glorifying Radha Kunda. You see, who is there that is intelligent? If somebody's actually spiritually intelligent, they will be able to discern that such place is so exalted, I have to serve that Radha Kunda. So then, we go to the second last verse, verse number 10. So here now, he's telling which personalities are supreme. And he's also comparing. He begins with fruitive workers called karmis. In this material world, most people are in that category, isn't it? Aren't most people in the category of fruitive worker? What is a fruitive worker? What does a karmi mean?
You work and you get some result.
Yes.
Are you working for the result? For your
Yes.
money?
Yes.
For your
And the karmis, the fruitive workers, they also fit into other categories of persons who are directed to attaining the heavenly planets, Swargaloka and so forth in the material world for the sake of material enjoyment. They're called karmakandis because they follow the system of given in the Vedas for attaining the heavenly planets. They're called karmis. You had some question? No. Karmi bhyak parito hare priyataya vyaktim yayur gyaninas. Tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtas tata. Tebhyasta pashupala pankaja drishash tabhyopi sa radhika. Preshta tadvadiyam tadiya sarasi tam nashrayet ka kriti. So, now, in the Shastra, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life, that person is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. What does that mean? Jnani, who has developed some knowledge of the higher values of life. Higher values, what's valuable? Values means a person understands what is valuable. So karmis, they don't know what is valuable because they're going for temporary things in this world, even disgusting temporary things, and even the high-level temporary things of going to the heavenly planets. So they're not advanced in knowledge. But a jnani is superior to them, okay? And because he is superior to the karmis, and he has this knowledge, higher knowledge of the values of life, therefore, Lord Hari, Krishna, he favors the jnanis over the karmis, okay? Now, next analysis, out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, the jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge, he may take to devotional service. Okay? Here it says, Priyataya, he is favored, Vyaktim Yayu, in the Shastras it is told, Jnanina, advanced in knowledge, Tebya Jnana Vimukta. So, superior to them, Tebya means superior to the Jnani is the Jnana Vimukta, who is liberated by dint of knowledge. He's not just a Jnani, he's a liberated soul now. Okay? He's a liberated soul. He has risen above the three modes of nature, and he's situated in transcendental knowledge. Then what happens? Bhakti, parama. They become engaged in bhakti. You see? Now, premaika nishtastata. He is superior to others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. Is superior to that liberated jnani because he's attained prema. Now, who's above them? The gopis. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees, premi bhaktas, because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Here the term is Pashu Pala Pankaja Drisha. Pashupala Pankaja Drisha. The gopis who are always dependent on Krishna, the cowherd boy. Now, among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her lake, her kunda is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. There is a verse in the purport from the Padma Purana describing how Krishna loves Srimati Radhika and equally loves her kunda, because her kunda is none different than her. So then, again, he's asking a question, Rupa Goswami. Having analyzed such, who then will not reside at Radha Kunda and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, prakrita bhav, devotional feelings, render loving service to the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, who perform their Ashtakaliya Lila, eightfold daily pastimes. Their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Who will not reside there at Radhakunda? And in a spiritual body, surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, render loving service to the divine couple, Radha Govinda, who perform their Ashtakaliya Lila. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakunda, they are the most fortunate people in the universe. In the universe. Now, we're ending. See, we've done an overview today.
That's good.
It's really
Yes.
nice. That's perfect for me. I can explain.
Yes, so, yes. Now we come to the last shloka, the last verse. It's also about Radhakunda. So all three of these verses have brought our attention to Radhakunda and explained why Radhakunda is supreme, how it is supreme, how the Srimati Radhika and her Kunda are equal and supreme. Now this last verse is going to tell us about how Krishna has his objects of favored delight. Krishna syochai pranaya vasati preyasibhyo piradha kundam chasya munibir abitas tadrik eva vyadai yat preshtair apiyalam asulabam kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premedam sakradapi sara snatur avishkaroti. Krishna syochai pranaya vasati. Pranaya vasati means object of Krishna's love. His most exalted object of love. So here, Rupa Goswami is telling of the many objects of favored delight, and of all the lovable damsels of Brajabhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kunda is described by great sages as similarly dear to him. Undoubtedly, Radha Kunda is very rarely attained even by the great devotees. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. But if one simply bathes once within these holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused.
Yay.
No, now I got to explain this. So, does that mean that somebody says, oh, Radhakund's topmost place, Krishna loves Radhakund as much as he loves Radhika, I'm going to go there. And then you purchase your plane ticket, wear your mask to get on the plane, make sure that you have your COVID test negative, fly to Delhi, take the taxi to Radhakunda. And now you find a room to rent and you start to live there. And you go bathing in Radhakunda each day, and you circumambulate, you do your chanting, you do your spiritual practices there. Because here he says, Sakrid api means even once. Sakrid api, even if one bathes even once. Tat premedam, that prema, it will be aroused by this snana. Snan means to bathe. So, will that happen to you? Will you suddenly, by buying a plane ticket and going there and renting a room and doing some chanting and circumambulating and all that you're going to bathe in the Radhakunda and you're immediately going to have your prema aroused? Why not? You're saying no, you're shaking your head. No, it won't happen. But he says it will happen.
Well, maybe.
Not maybe.
Because it takes some time.
Time?
And also it's not a physical, material just place.
Yes.
It's a spiritual place, so it's not, you can't compare it to just going there.
Oh, one thing you should never do is when your beads are on something, you should never touch your feet to that blanket or anything. Yeah. Just letting you know. Because otherwise it's an offense against your Tulsi. If we read the purport, and especially in Gurudev's book, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's full purport is there. He explains what does this mean to take bath in Radhakunda. It means that you are taking a prakrita snan. He uses this term, a prakrita snan, which means transcendental bath. And then he goes further and he says, in your aprakrita deha, your transcendental spiritual body, with aprakrita bhav, transcendental emotions, then this can take place, even once. But who can do that? Do you have realization of your aprakrita deha, your spiritual body? Are you capable then of taking aprakrita snan? No. Srila Gurudev, Srila Gurudev told us, the first time I went on parikrama with him in 1994, there were ISKCON devotees still coming, and some of them came to Gurudev's parikrama, and then they said, "Oh, Maharaj, tomorrow is the appearance day of Radha Kunda. Are you going to go there?" You know the appearance day? It's on our Vaishnava calendar also. It's the day when Krishna created Shamakund, and Radharani and the gopis created Radhakund that took the water from Shamakund. That whole pastime, after Krishna killed who? Yes, the bull demon. And the gopis said, "You can't touch us." Why? Because you killed a bull, you're contaminated. You cannot touch our bodies. Well, it wasn't a bull, Krishna argued. It's not a bull. It was a demon who came in the form of a bull. But still, because he was in the form of a bull, the gopis said, "You killed a bull, so you have to atone for that. You have to get purified." Okay, what do I have to do? You have to bathe in all the holy waters all throughout the entire universe. And then you can touch us. Okay. Krishna took his flute, put it into the earth like this, and suddenly a whole big gigantic hole came there. And then Krishna called all the deities of the various waters, the personified forms, to come there, and they all came immediately with folded palms. "Yes, what is your desire? We are here to serve you. I want you to come into this place, all the holy waters." So they all transformed into water and became this kunda. And then Krishna bathed in the kunda and he came out. And then he said, "Now I'm pure." And the gopis didn't like that Krishna was proud. "You see, I've done this." So Radharani said, "We will have our own kunda." Then she ordered all of the gopis to use their, what's it called? The word? There's a Sanskrit word for the kanchana or something. No. Anyway, they broke their bangles, and with their bangles, they began to dig. And you know how many gopis were digging? Lakhs. And within a short time, they dug this big hole. And then Radharani sent them with pots to go all the way down to Manasi Ganga and to begin bringing water from Manasi Ganga and filling their kunda. But then Krishna, at that point, what did Krishna do?
Take water from my kunda.
Yes, he stood there watching and he says, "Oh, my Priyaji, why you are undergoing so much endeavor? Please." Now Krishna became humbled. "Please, you simply take the water from my kunda." And then because of his attitude, then she agreed. And the water from Shama Kunda, which is also called Krishna Kunda, came into Radha Kunda. And then, so that's the appearance. That's how Radha Kunda appeared in this world. Although Radha Kunda is eternal, Govardhan is eternal, they've descended down from the spiritual world, but there's a pastime how they appeared. So, I forgot my train of thought, how I got onto the subject of the appearance.
The ISKCON voice was saying, Maharaj.
Ah, yes. So then, see, it becomes like in India, something becomes like a ritual, or if there is a tirtha, you know, and there's a time of bathing, and people, they want material auspiciousness. Material. Even Gurudev said, most of the people who are circumambulating around Govardhan, and there are millions of people annually that circumambulate Govardhan Hill. He said, the majority, the vast majority of them, they're coming to pray to Giriraj Govardhan for what? Material gain, money, or blessings, for that my son will pass his exam in the university, and all these different things. Or they want a new house. Gurudev even said, there's people who do the Dandavat Parikrama. Yes.
They're doing it for that.
And they sometimes even have 108 stones, which they move, and they do 108 Dandavat pranams in one place, and then they move one body's length to the next place, and they do this. But Gurudev said, they're meditating that these stones are the bricks that are going to build this house that they're praying to Krishna for.
Oh no, you just shattered my perception of it. I was thinking, oh, look at them, look how
Yeah, but you can't tell just by the external what they're doing.
Yeah.
But Gurudev told that most of the people, they come from various villages, Rajasthani villages here, there. And a lot of them are Krishna Bhaktas, but they're praying for a material thing from Giriraj. And Giriraj, did you know what Giriraj's name is? Sarva Abhishta Pradata, Giriraj Govardhan. That means he who gives fulfillment of all desires. They know this, so therefore they're coming to pray to Giriraj Govardhan. But Gurudev said Giriraj Govardhan also knows everything, and he's watching every single person who's circumambulating him, and he's examining. What does this person want? Is there, if he finds any person who is going with no material desires, and they only desire to serve Radha and Krishna, that is their only desire, and Giriraj, he gives his mercy and blessings. Yes.
Gurudev told us to pray to Giriraj. Oh Giriraj, please don't fulfill any of my desires. Please only fulfill whatever desire my Gurudev has for me.
Gurudev is very tricky.
Yeah.
He said, if you're coming with me on my parikrama, then
Yes.
Giriraj's going to listen to my desire, not yours.
Yeah, so everyone asked Gurudev, not everyone, those ISKCON devotees, they asked Gurudev, oh Maharaj, tomorrow is the appearance day of Radhakund, and on that day, it's a very, very big occasion in Radhakunda, and thousands of people come there because they think on that day we're really going to get the benedictions. But Gurudev said there were practically all of them are coming with material desires, and they want to leave their sins there in Radhakund and become purified from their sins, and like this, I have never gone and I will never go, Gurudev said on that day. You see? You see, so, but the whole Upadeshamrita is showing us how we can attain the highest perfection, okay? And that perfection ultimately culminates in Radha Dasyam, in Manjari Prem, Manjari Bhav, in service to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, in Braj, especially in Govardhan, and especially in Radhakunda. So we bow down to even that desire, and we keep that desire on our head, Srila Sridhar Maharaj would say, and we go on with our service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu in the form of Harinam Sankirtan, preaching the message of Mahaprabhu, and praying that one day we can become purified. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj spoke about this quite a bit. He used the English saying, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And this is the problem, that there are so many sinful persons. Gurudev said the vast majority of persons who have come there to live at Radhakund and so forth are completely engaging in debauch activities. Even persons who are externally look renounced, he said the majority of them, they're keeping some widow, some woman, having illicit sex at Radhakunda, or smoking ganja, or doing things like that. But in Radhakunda, in that area, there are a few who are real, exalted Vaishnavas. But they're rare. So, in that way we should understand how Rupa Goswami is gradually revealing the process in the Upadeshamrita, how one will be able to ultimately attain perfection, you see. So that's all we can say now, but you got a little quick...
You did the whole thing tonight?
Yeah. But we still have to learn all the rest of the instructions of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Gaur Premanandi, Shri Videshamritam ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavim.
Is there like a maximum capacity of souls that are allowed to come to one particular, like, you know how like there's different, like when Junior Ross and what everybody's adhikar is their place, you know, and that's kind of, even though some levels are higher than others, some people are just not able to eternally get to those higher places. I heard that, something like that. Is that true?
We'll discuss.
Okay.
But, no. If someone is coming in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they're under proper guidance, they will attain the highest destination. They will not be kept back. No. And Gurudev used to say, the very fact that you're coming in this disciplic succession and not in Sri Sampradaya or so forth is indicating that you have that eternal relationship with Radha and Krishna in Braj. But that's a big topic.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Haribol. All of our Facebook friends and devotees can now see their beautiful, glorious Radha Govindaji, who are now going to have their Gaur Artik, Radha Krishna Jugal Artik, Nitai Gaurang